walking down that and I saw it and I dropped everything. I'm like, pulled up. It's like, this is it. After I've written it down, it's like, this is my chance. So I emailed him right away. I mean, I'm checking every day. Did he email back? Did he email back? And it's 2 weeks go by. And guess what, dude? I hit him up on Facebook and I said, hey, Devin, you remember me? I applied for that position. Curious if you got the email. And he's like, yes, we replied to you. We wanted you to meet up with Parker and get some footage. And I'm like, wait, what? So I jump into my email. I'm like, I don't have anything. And it's in my spam. And it sat there for 2 weeks.
No way.
Just like life-altering email.
All right, we did a podcast with myself and Zane, and it was 2 hours long. This is going to be version 1. We're going to split it into 2. So this is version 1, and then on the next week, we will release episode 6, version 2.
And then will you just make sure that cursor is behind Zane? Dang, my nipples are hard. It's so cold in here. Oh, good way to kick it off.
Yeah, dude, just do some Wim Hof breathing real quick, you know?
Yeah. Okay, man. I'm going to act like I'm not cold. Well, this is weird. Being on this side. Go ahead, Zane. Kick off my podcast.
Hey, everybody. Where do I look at the camera?
This one.
Yeah. This one. Yeah. This is very interesting. We get to see the left side of Tyson's profile.
Oh, right.
So we
the non-tattoo side.
Yeah.
Non-tattoo side.
Yeah,
so you
dude.
get a whole nother perspective.
It's a whole new. You're like Two-Face, dude. This is gonna be
like the evil side.
Well, I hope not.
Well, no, that's the evil side. You guys will be seeing this is a good side.
Either way, this is cool because I get to guest host and interview Tyson.
Thanks. We talked about this on your podcast, and I thought it was a fun idea.
I know. I joked about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's do it, dude. I love it.
Let's talk about my journey.
So,
why not?
Well, I would say, I think why not too? Because if we...
Thanks for agreeing with me. Continue.
I just love you, dude.
Dude, thanks, man.
I do.
I know.
I probably love you too much, huh? I probably make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I'm so used to you making me uncomfortable that most people probably think I hate you. Especially when we're in public. You're like, you do these things that make people uncomfortable and everyone's like, oh, that's funny. And I'm just like quiet.
Yeah. And you're just over it.
Like, bro, you know how long I've been working with Zane? We've been around the world together. He's seen me in ways no one else has. Maybe my wife, meaning like night terrors.
Yeah, your night terrors, dude. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, man, we've done a lot. So I'm used to the awkward, making me uncomfortable stuff. It doesn't make me uncomfortable anymore. I just kind of roll my eyes and be like, he's such a dad.
Yeah, dude. But it's who I am, Ty. It's who I am, and it's who you are.
Yeah, it's fun. We mesh.
We do really well.
Cohesive.
We are cohesive. The yin to my yang, you know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do
you know how to do this?
Yes, I do.
You look nervous.
Do I look nervous, dude? I'm the one, and you should be nervous.
My heart's pounding. I just don't show it. I'm like, but I'm nervous because this is my journey.
Yeah.
And it'll be fun, I guess. So
I think it's gonna be awesome. Well, let's just kickstart it with what you're doing right now. Like, it's kind of how you did mine. It's how you've done some of the other ones. Where are you at right now? What are you doing? What's keeping you awake at night? And then what are you most stoked about? Let's just talk about that.
This is weird because all of a sudden I just realized it just hit me. I'm going to have to do all the talking. It's nice being over there because you can just like ask a question and listen and then just kind of riff. I have to talk a lot. So currently right now I'm doing this. This is I think it'll be episode 5 of our podcast. So this is part of what I'm doing. A Filmmaker's Journey is a piece of Tyson Media. And Tyson Media is a content agency that I've been running for 5 years now. And we have clients that we just do consistent work for. So our whole model is long-term relationships, retainers, kind of retainer, kind of not, but it's consistent monthly income, and have been building that for the last 5 years. And recently kind of got it to a position where I've got amazing people working for me, like the best people. And they are all in roles with each of our companies to help me produce content to where I can kind of step back and facilitate. And it kind of dawned on me, I was like, I can kind of work on the business. Like, I'm not working in it. And that was weird for me. And so I kind of took a little bit of time, and it turned into what is that next step for me. And I think everyone kind of gets there where it's like, you get really good at a craft, use your hands, you put in your 10,000, for me it's like 100,000 hours, I feel like, and you perfect it, and you think you get to a point where all of a sudden your mind becomes valuable. It's like you put all those things, experiences, and it's all in your brain, and now it's like I'm looking for fulfillment in giving back. And you talked about this in your podcast, and that is, you've been given a gift and it's your responsibility to give that gift to people. And I'm at that point, and we've talked about this, it's like I'm ready to start sharing it. I've never been the guy that's like, I want to do a course, I want to teach people how to film, I want to, I've had a lot of people ask when I'm going to do that, and I've just never wanted to until recently. And I feel like the reason for it is that I'm at a place that's pretty unique, and I've gone through a lot of crazy experiences that not a lot of, well, it's my life. I've gone through experiences that no one else has, and it's shaped me and my business along the way. That's put together quite a few cool systems and processes that really just how to sustain a business in filmmaking. Meaning, everyone's talking about, you can get 100,000. I'll help you get $100,000 deals. I'll help you land clients. I'll help you get more work, right? Mm-hmm. And that's cool. But then now, once you got the work, can you keep it? Can you sustain that? Can you take that relationship with a client from month 1 to month 2 to year 5? Like, I've been able to do that. And so I'm taking that other approach that's kind of the next level. And that's, okay, we'll help you get deals, but also I want to teach you how to build a company that is self-sustained, and you become the person that is now building the business. So you're doing a lot of brand stuff. I should speak about what I'm doing, not you in general. I'm doing a lot of brand stuff now, which is, this podcast is going to be part of that. Building an education platform for kind of as a recruiting piece to teach filmmakers what I'm doing. But then something I haven't really talked about is I'm building another media agency. And I've been climbing an uphill battle for quite some time. And that's, my company's name is Tyson Media. And I knew going into this that it's not something I could really sell. It's me. It's like, I never really had plans of like getting this business to a point that's like, I need to sell Tyson Media. It's just, it was always my platform to show what I can do. Now it's at a point where it's like, always knowing that would happen, I'm starting another agency, but it's bringing marketing and content creation and our model all into one house. So we'll be creating content and marketing it. And then we are going to use Tyson Media Pro as kind of a recruiting piece to recruit filmmakers to create the content inside of our agency. But doing the same thing with marketing. I'm partnering with a guy that does the marketing side, I'm the content side, and we're going to marry it. And then Tyson Media is kind of it's staying my personal brand, but I still have clients, and I'm going to continue working with those clients, but building something else that's not me. And that's always been the plan, is getting to that point where eventually it's not me, and it's bigger than me. So to answer your question, and I've ranted for quite a while, I'm currently doing a lot of things, but I'm also trying to figure it out as I go. It changes weekly. Like, ask Logan, who's running around checking all the cameras. I text him with like new ideas constantly. My brain's crazy. It's like ADHD. It's like, oh, I think we should actually change this. All right, we need to do this next. So it's like always evolving. And I think we're finding a really good direction for it. So yeah,
I mean, I have so many questions. That is a lot, but I have so many questions for you. And I think just because I know you and I've seen how you've evolved into where you are at now. And it's crazy because I would never have thought that this is where you would be, or the direction that you would even want to go.
Cool. Right. That's interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't have either, but at the same time, I've always known,
and that's what I want to,
I think I'm going to do something special.
That's what I want to get into, because what one part I know about you very well is that you do have goals.
Yeah.
And they're very specific and they're very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to see you kind of shifting to make things work. And there's a lot of things that I have questions for that I think would benefit other people. And it's kind of like what we kind of talked about this a little bit. But where do you, so let me just say this. If you haven't met Tyson in person, okay, and we've talked about this,
Yeah.
you're very confident. You come in and you command a room.
Am I?
Yeah, you are.
I don't try to be.
So, but my question is, do you still struggle with imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Dude, it's so bad. It's a daily struggle. Like you went straight to the hard stuff.
I did. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead, but I just think it's interesting because you come across,
Yeah.
because you have, I mean, you put your money where your mouth is over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and you're very successful at doing it. And so I think people just who wouldn't know you or just seeing you pass by would be like, man, that dude just got it together, right? And you do have it together, but I know there's more to you.
Yeah.
And I think that people could benefit of learning that, you know what I mean, that even someone like you are going through something like imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so much bigger than imposter syndrome too. I think it's like just I feel like I'm just like fighting constantly every day to just do more. And I've always been my biggest critic. I've always been super hard on myself. A lot of it unknowingly until I've gotten older and I step back and I'm like, holy smokes, man. And as you get older, it's kind of it takes a huge mental toll on you, and it changes you, and it's a struggle. And my wife sees it more than anybody. It's like I am constantly trying to do more, and I've tried to slow that down a little bit, and now it's like I don't want to just do so much and be selfish. I'm really trying to change my mentality to be more giving and give back. More, what's the word? Living the actual good life, which is giving, right? And I think I've been pretty self-centered for 15, 20 years, and it's always been about my goals. It's been about growing my family. It's been about being successful. Anyway, that's why this is a very loaded question, because it's about mentality and just like my brain. And you're probably seeing a lot of it as I jump from thing to thing. But yeah, man, I struggle with imposter syndrome like crazy. And I think it's a lot of what drives me but unfortunately what happens is it ends up putting me in a funk. And what I mean by that is I'll start something or I'll go pursue something, and then I see someone else is already doing it better or doing more of it. And it puts me in a funk for a couple of days if I see it online.
Interesting.
And so I end up being like, I'm the worst. I should have started or should have done this or a long time ago, and here I am, and I'm not good at this. I'm like putting myself down, right? And I think in the early days, not being as mature mentally as I am now, like I didn't know what I was doing to myself, and it was just like a hard thing. And then all of a sudden, a day, two later, I'm like, let's go, and I'm pushing hard, and I have new ideas, and I'm excited, and I'll talk to Haley, and she's just like, yep, more ideas, cool.
So my question, I guess I have a question then, following up with that, because I mean, even for me, and I've talked about this, I deal with that. You know what I mean? I think constantly comparing when you're in a creative world that we are in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just always thinking like, okay, who did it better? Like how, does that artist
So
do
easy
that?
to compare.
So what are things that you do in your life, or that I want to say that maybe even habits that you've built up that have sustained you and gotten you through those hard things, or those times when you are getting riddled with self-doubt?
Routine is like my number one. I'm extremely routine, and it's funny, I'll keep saying it, but like I did a lot of things that I thought I was supposed to do because I read a lot of books about self-help and being awesome, like trying to be a good person and like being motivated and disciplined and all the, anyway, all the self-help gurus I listened to. I just did all the things they said because they're like, you do these, you're going to be successful. Now looking back, I'm like, man, those are habits that I've created that have brought me to this point. And now that I'm a little more mature about it, I understand why those things are so important. I just did them because I thought I should. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I would be in a different place now for sure if I didn't do these things that were routine, which is waking up early, going to the gym, eating healthy, reading books, seminars, talks. It's just tons of self-help stuff to help me just along the way. And it was always just because I knew I needed to, but now it's like, man, I'm glad I did that. So I keep doing it now, understanding more why I need it. And it just puts every day I'm in a better place every day. But I feel like the older I get, it just keeps getting harder. It's kind of like ignorance is bliss. It's like now that I kind of know what I need to do and why, it's like a little harder versus just doing it blindly. Like we said this in your podcast.
Yeah.
What was it you said?
You're like naive, you know, you
You're
don't know.
naive and you just don't know what you're doing, so you just do it. And now I'm like, anyway.
So okay, I love this, because at first I thought you were gonna say I read all this stuff and did all this stuff and it was garbage, right? It didn't help me. But you're saying that stuff molded you,
Yeah.
to be who you are now, to have the habits that you have now. What would you say is, that's putting you on the spot, what would you say is one of your favorite books that molded you from early on?
Well, it's not a book. It's actually, I had a car. It had a CD-ROM player in it for all those that like,
What?
Yeah. It was older at that time. I could have gotten something that had like auxiliary plugs, right? But it was a crap car. And it was at the time that I was just like, I don't want nice things. I just want to make money, grind, stack it up. And so I was driving this car and I would drive it to Salt Lake every day. I worked at a company called Pure Water and I did a lot of, I would call it kind of construction, like warehouse managerial stuff. And I drove to Salt Lake 35 minutes every day back. And I would just I had a CD, it was called You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. And it's a seminar he did in the 80s. And it was like a 24 CD thing. And so what I would do is I'd put this first CD in and let that thing roll for days. Like, meaning I would drive I'd listen to 35 minutes and then home 35 minutes, but then I wouldn't change it. I would like get that thing in my brain and probably listen to it 10 to 15 times before I went to the next CD. And then I did this for probably 4 years, man, with the same thing. In this time I'm reading other things, but like if you know who Bob Proctor is, he's all about, visualization and really just living a good life and attracting things. He got all this stuff from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. So he's kind of like the next step when it comes to Napoleon Hill. I guess the modern version. Napoleon Hill was like 1930s. Bob Proctor's 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And so it was more modernized, but I loved it and I listened to it. And I knew I was like, okay, let's get this basic stuff down and then we'll grow from there. So that, I wouldn't say it's a book. It would definitely be, but then I read Think and Grow Rich after, but it was that program for sure. And I got it from my mom. It was like tons of CDs. Here you go. But my mom was a huge role in like keeping me on the right track.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow. We're not even talking about filmmaking, bro.
We haven't yet.
You're just talking about me.
No, but here's the thing. I think that's so valuable, right? It's like the man behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Like, okay. One of my favorite sayings, Ty, is don't study to be like the masters, right? But seek what they sought.
Yeah.
So, people are looking at you. Okay, you're the guru now, right? You're the one who is writing the book, essentially, to help other people and lift other people up. Like maybe people will listen to you on repeat. You know what I mean? To bring something up. And I think, yeah, it's what empowers you. You know what I mean? And I think filmmaking obviously is the end result that we get. But I think there's some more stuff, and that's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah, it's probably why I love business. I don't think I was supposed to be in filmmaking. I think I just had a knack for being creative and meshing that with business. I don't know. I think back to a lot of different careers I could have gone down, and I think I would have done a good job at any of them just because of my setting myself up mentally for just to be good at stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I just fell in love with filmmaking. Like, just and we can talk about this as we talk through it, but like there's just times in my life that I can think of that's like just drawing emotion out of people, creating relationships with people, and this career path puts you in front of so many different people from all walks of life, and that's like the most important thing to me is building relationships and nurturing those relationships with people from all walks of life and never burning bridges and always trying to be a good person. And so just trying to live by that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let's use that as our segue into, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
What was that thing that inspired you to choose filmmaking over something else?
Well, I think before I even knew I wanted to get into film, I was seeing things. Like my mom had a VHS video camera, like a lot of kids our age, big old tank, man, and it literally had a VHS, and those are this big, and you just pop that in your VCR when you're done recording and watch it. But she did a ton of family home videos, and I've actually asked her about it. I'm just like, what made you get that? She's like, I just wanted to capture her memories, and my dad didn't have anything to do with it. It was her. She was the one always filming it, and I just naturally was like, that's so fun. I watched Nixon, my oldest son now, you know, he loves to do what I'm doing when I want to film this, Dad, or if I'm vlogging or just doing a family video, he like wants to participate. So I see that same kind of, I guess, curiosity from him that I had with my mom. And it by no means was like, I want to run camera. It was just it was fascinating to me. So I would hold it, and I've got these videos of me and her, she's teaching me, and I'm pulling focus, and it's like zooming in, and then from there, my mom was always kind of talking to me constantly about, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what do you want to be career-wise? You want to do something you love. You don't want to just have a random job. So I was always looking for things, and she would throw me into classes in high school and junior high that were like, one point I was like, I think I like being an architect. I don't know. So I went down and did this random class I didn't need to, but then realized they used AutoCAD, which I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but it was on computers, and I loved to use computers. They just was fun. So then it was like, I think I want to do something with computers. And that was probably junior high, like 7th, 8th grade. But at this time, like 8th grade going into 9th grade, I had 2 buddies, and we would make the funniest, most ridiculous videos we've graduated from VHS to the smaller tapes that were like this big.
Yeah.
And it was the kind you hold, and it has like the swivel, and you got the big screen. And we would just make videos and edit them in camera. So we would like, all right, go. And then it's recording, and then cut. Okay, now, and then if you did it wrong, you rewind the tape and you'd go over it. So we made tons of just random skits of like doing tricks, like hitting people with pillows, and then you cut, and then they're flying across the room, or like just we're doing camera tricks. And not even like, even then it was like, this isn't what I want to do. It was just fun. It was, my mom had a camera. We made fun things, and then I was always kind of the guy running the camera, driving it really. Doing music videos, random stuff. And then I got into high school, and still I was carrying cameras around. Me and my friends would go hiking, and we'd just make the dumbest videos. And we ended up, I'm trying to remember if like I had editing yet. I'm pretty sure I did, and I maybe was editing at school. But this kind of all meshes together. I'm not sure what happened first, but I got into the film news class, and immediate computers, filming. I was like, oh my gosh, I love editing, which is, I think, pretty rare for a lot of people in our industry. It's kind of like, I hate the editing. Yeah. I loved it. And so at school I had a editing software, and it was like Final Cut, whatever version. And then my mom had something that came on her computer that was just free, and it was like a sound thing. So I'd record sounds, and I'd make music, and just for fun, I like to piece things together, and I'd make crazy soundtracks and little skits just with sound, but loved the idea of creating on a computer. So got into high school, and then while I was filming these videos with my friends, I would edit the videos, start to piece them together, and I finally went to my mom, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be an editor. And she's like, cool, well, how serious do you want to take it? And I was like, I think this is it. And she's like, you promise me you make this a career and you love it? Well, I'll buy you a computer, an iMac. And it was the white version that's like thick, not the big back, but like the skinny one. And she bought me one. And so from there, it was like, me and my buddies were shooting. I'd go home and edit crazy, silly videos, and we would have like premieres. This is 2006, so like YouTube was a thing, but no one knew about it. And I wish we did, because I'm like, man, these are perfect for YouTube back then. Like, uploading these would have been great. But I would make a DVD, and we would put a projector in my backyard, and we would just play our videos for people. And they were like 2-hour-long videos of just scene after scene of just funny things. Like music video. Okay, now it's a travel video.
It's like going through reels today, you know?
Yeah, except we're all just sitting there with our high school friends on a projector watching it. for 2 hours, and everyone's, these are so good, these are so funny. And so yeah, that was it. But then it was kind of like, what's the path? Like, the path is making movies, right? At that time, it wasn't social media, but just knew I needed to get started. And so then we started looking into schools and colleges. You know, I looked at the whole, like, the Siegel, LA Siegel, whatever that was, then Art Institute. I just got an email from the Art Institute. I guess they're in a lawsuit. They're out of business, but talking about everything, like they were a scam.
Oh, wow.
And I'm part of, like, I can get a piece of it, but it's like nothing. Anyway, that was crazy. Side note. But yeah, then it was kind of like, what's the next step? Let's go to college. Looked at a bunch of schools, and I knew I needed to do generals, which are the worst. It's 2 years of just more high school stuff. And so I did a semester at UVU, and I think it was UVSC at the time. It was the last year they were UVSC, and I just freaking hated it. I was like, this is the worst. I know what I want to do, and it's not math. It's not this other stuff that I had to do. So I actually dropped out after one semester. And prior to this, I was framing. So I did I framed houses for like 3 summers in high school, and did a couple other oddballs like tarred foundations and just oddball jobs, and framed. And so then after I dropped out, I was like, I'm just going to go to work. And so I called up a cousin and worked for him for the next semester. It was like January to the summer. And we just built more houses and did more construction. And during this time, people started asking for things like slideshows. And so I was editing pictures together for people and loved to see their reactions. That was like my main thing with editing, was I loved to see people's reactions when I'd show them the videos. If they cried, if they smiled, if they laughed. And I think that's the other thing with my friends. It was like, love to see people laughing when we made these videos.
Bro, it's in the Prestige, right? This is the Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, they're magicians, and Hugh Jackman at the end, you know what I mean? Why did you? He's like, because the look on their faces. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, bro, this is like magic tricks again.
Oh, so I'm a magician.
Going back to that, but that's the purpose of it. You know what I mean? You want to make something because you want to express and to see them, you know what I mean, go through that emotion with you, which I think is just like, there's something special there. That's what's cool.
That's what I think. Yeah, I just loved to see what happened. And so anyway, I started doing the slideshows. And then I started getting asked about weddings. I was like, cool, I'll just do some weddings. And I always heard rumors of like, you'll get stuck if you start. And I just was like, I'll never get stuck. So I started doing weddings for family, did a couple a year. And then during this time, I was like, I got to get back into school because I really don't know where else to go. And that's like one thing I always tell people, if they're like, should I go to college? I'm like, if you don't know what to do, then go to college, because you're going to meet people and you're going to network. And that's probably the main thing you'll get out of it. But if you're like, unless you have another path, like, just go to school. So I went back to UVU and just cranked my generals, and then took some business classes too, which I just thought about. I remember, I think my mom was always kind of telling me to like be a business owner, and like always kind of had that mentality. I just thought about that, like, which is interesting. So I took some business classes that weren't towards my degree. But I always related it to film. I remember I did a presentation for my business class. You had to start a business, talk about the costs, the overhead, and I put together a whole business plan. And it was so funny because I laugh about it now because it was pure profit. Like, there was no overhead, dream scenario. So I was like, I need to buy a computer, I need a camera, some audio equipment, and a light. And after that, it's pure profit. I don't have to pay for anything. And I'm like, that was true at the time. I think you bought software once. You bought your Final Cut, and you didn't have to have a subscription. So it was kind of like this, like, this could work. But that's the small thinking when it comes to business. And it's like, how do you go beyond that? Because expenses suck now. So, but yeah, I was in college, and then started into the film classes. And that's where I started to shape, like, what do I want to do? Like, I knew I liked to edit. I was always the editor for our projects. And then I was shooting a lot of the time. And just even, I think it was even like, I don't know when I was introduced to Devin, but I was obsessed with Devin Supertramp at that time. Like, I loved his stuff, and was like, so much of my style, my direction was all inspired by him and his channel. And I watched all of his stuff. I took it in. So while I was in college, I ended up buying a glide cam, and I was creating these travel videos. And like I would literally be driving on the street and see a cool location. I'd pull over and just go do glide cam shots through the trees and just practice over and over and over and try to get good. And back then you didn't see warp stabilizer like you do. And so you'd throw a warp stabilizer on it. It's like, this is magic. And I would show people it in college, and they're just like, holy crap. Because smooth shots with a Steadicam was not a thing unless you had a big rig back then.
Yeah.
So Devin was definitely changing the game. And so I was trying to jump on that. So then I started implementing GlideCam into weddings. And I remember like the OGs like David Perry and Chris McLean, like these guys that were in Utah filming weddings, they started using GlideCam, and kind of took a lot of what I learned from them, just seeing their stuff online, and started implementing it into my weddings and kind of modernized it a little bit. Started shooting tons of first looks.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, so then just wanted to, like, I remember just wanting to like be Devin Supertramp, and so I was doing everything I could to do what he was doing. It kind of took all this stuff I was learning along the way that's like, do what other successful people are doing and you'll have that. And so I was essentially, so I started a YouTube channel, and I started doing my own videos. And I remember I went to have a soup and I'm like making this nature video like Devin would, and it's just glide cam shots, man. And I always wondered how he got that look, which is just that wide look, and I didn't understand lenses.
Yeah.
And I rented a camera from school to shoot a video for one of the campaigns, and I rented a 16-35 and a full frame sensor, Mark II.
And you're like,
whoa, that's how he does it. Because I was using a 7D crop sensor with like a, I don't know what lens, probably a 24.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that wow look, it's just this tight. Anyway, I'll never forget that moment. I was like, that is it. And then I started to understand the lenses. And that's part of like, if you want to get good at something, you just got to do it.
That's
Figure
awesome.
it out.
So I have a question. What about Devin's stuff made you want to be him so much? Like, what was it that was attracted to you? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff because he's very talented.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to what, like, you know, was it your reactions that you wanted to create similar? You know what I mean? Or was it the camera work? I mean, was it all the above? Like, what was it exactly that separated Devin?
So I think anyone will say this when they saw his early videos, it was like, there was this lifestyle piece to it. It's like people are happy and they're screaming, and obviously a lot of it was kind of staged for the video, but it was so fun to watch people in his videos have so much fun. And I loved that. And so I remember filming a video for Milo. Do you remember that place?
Yeah.
It's like a skate company in Provo. I just got hooked up with their marketing person, and I shot a video down Provo Canyon, and I was like, this is the next Devin Supertramp video, man. And and it's online, and I don't even think I had a full sensor yet at this point. I was still using my 7D, and so it didn't look the same, but just filming people skateboarding down Provo Canyon and doing that same like in the camera and laughing. So I think I loved the idea of experiencing that lifestyle through filming. So being there at the parties, being fun, and having it, and making kind of documenting those experiences for people to look back on. And it kind of, but yeah, and then showing the people that are in the videos and just watching them react. So I think I was like, just subconsciously, like, I just want to have that same kind of fun.
That's
really
awesome. Well, you know what's interesting about Devin, and one of the, I mean, he taught me so many things, right? Because he had an audience that he could try and test stuff, you know what I mean? But what I think he did, and a lot of people couldn't put their finger on, was that he filmed. So Devin would just film this amazing thing, but his trick is that there was always an audience that he was filming their reactions to the thing.
And that was before like people realized that. I think Casey Neistat like really drove that home. Like, that's on purpose. You should do that because it puts people's in the same shoes. And Devin could have easily had that same mindset of like, this is an important piece.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's interesting, but it kind of goes on to, I think, kind of seeing this thread of you loving and being attracted to people's response to it.
Yeah,
right?
and that's
So-
their response to these videos. So yes,
Yeah.
I think that was a thing without even realizing it.
Yeah,
Glad
that's
we
cool.
figured that out. Yeah.
It's interesting. I love that.
But yeah, and then from there, man, I seriously watched all his stuff and loved it. And I would literally, speaking to like the things, you know, from like Think and Grow Rich, like I would write in a journal daily on just what my goals were, and I'd repeat those goals, and I like obsessively repeat them. Like I literally wrote in my journal, I'm so, and I do it in the present tense, I'm so glad now that I work for Devin Cybertramp. And I did it, like I'd write in a whole page and I'd say that, or I'm so glad I now have this much money, or I'm so glad I have this woman that I've married, or I have this family. And I did that. I mean, I've done that my whole life. And so it's just funny now to see where I ended up when I wrote all that stuff.
I love that you do this, because I feel like I've met several very successful people in my life, like even with some of the work I've done in interviews, and the law of attraction has gotten a bad rap.
Yeah.
Because people oversimplify
very
it.
success driven, like money. Yeah. It's very greedy. It's selfish.
Yeah. I mean, I remember someone saying something like, well, you know, a starving person is all they're thinking about is food. So why do they have all this food, right? Yeah. And people just would mock, or like I said, like they'd oversimplify it, right? But you know, I mean, it's something that I 100% believe.
It's focusing on the right thing. So like when you're talking about like debt, I want more money. It's like you're focusing on wanting more money. Or no, sorry, it's opposite. You're focusing on the debt. Like the average person is mostly like, I got to get out of debt. Versus, anyway, I hear you, and most people know this by now. And I think people have listened to enough things, but it's like it's kind of switching your mindset, like, and not focusing on the bad. Because when you're hungry as a homeless person, you're focusing on I'm hungry. You're not focusing on abundance. You know what I mean?
Well, I love this, and I think you know, so the people who might think it's like woohoo, whatever, who don't believe in it, it really is almost as one of the best explanations, and something that I feel like you apply in your life, because it's crazy. You showed me some of your past things that you had, like for your dream board and stuff like that, right? Images and clips and stuff, and how they have come to pass, like they're real. And I think sometimes it's bringing our awareness to the right spot. Like it's like when you say, okay, today I want to look for green cars. Yeah, you're gonna see way more green cars than you normally would have. Yeah, but they were always there. It's just your awareness has changed to keep those opportunities.
You're activating your reticular activating system in your brain. So when you think about something, your brain's going, okay, let's start focusing on that. And so you automatically are going to start noticing opportunities that steer you to that. So it's not this like holy like magic thing. It's just like our brains are noticing opportunities and situations and people that are going to, if you focus on it enough, it'll eventually steer you in that direction. And you do it yourself. Like you're doing it, but you think it's this magic thing, like the way that The Secret depicted it.
Yeah, The Secret depicted it. It's just this magic formula. So anyway, so you wrote down that I'm so glad I'm working for Devin Supertramp. And then what happened?
Yeah, so while I was in college, I ended up meeting you, James Terry as well, who have both been on this podcast. And you guys were like James Terry was my first friend in filmmaking. And then we met in the broadcasting class, and then I took it again, and then you and I met in the broadcasting class, and you were my like second. I had a lot of other friends too, but like I remember Diana and Christian, but like the people I stuck with till now, you and James. And so you ended up working at Refinement first. Yep. I can't remember if it was you or James.
Yeah, and I got James.
You got James
over into it.
But then I can't remember if you or James are the ones that got me in at Refinement, or at least just a little gig. I was editing part-time.
Yeah, that's right. I want to say that maybe we just said, oh, Tyson would be great. Yeah, Tyson would be awesome.
So I remember coming in at that house in Provo and just editing some stuff. Yeah. And Chris from
The Strike
was there, and that was so crazy. I'm like, oh, The Strike. I've watched them perform. Anyway, while I was there, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And at that point, I was still at Pure Water Technologies. I worked there for 6 years, from like 17 to 23, having a consistent income while I tried to build this career, which I think is important. A lot of people won't do that, or they'll struggle, or they just, I don't know. I did weddings. Like I knew that there was always a means to that end. It was just, I got to make money now. So I was doing all the things I didn't want to do until I got to where it was like this point, which was I got some consistent income. I was doing more weddings, and I started editing for Refinement, who's ended up becoming Big Door. And while I was there, I was like, okay, I have enough. Went to my boss. I was like, it's time. And he always knew too. He knew I was a filmmaker. I'd always asked for time off for weddings. And I was like, okay, it's time. He's like, sweet. And just a little note on my boss there. He was one of my biggest mentors, and he was the one that helped me get in on this. It was 2012. He's like, all right, Tyson, you want to invest? Now's a good time to go get a house. This is like a total side note, but like I love this side of things too, investing. 2012. So I went and bought that townhome, and I credit him for it. It's like, and then it started me on that journey, which supported my film career, like to this point where like it paid for a lot of my lifestyle.
That's awesome.
But huge shout out to him. He was like, yeah, go for it. So I think I gave him my 2 weeks, and it was hard. I was like so close to all these people, and I cried when I left. And anyway, worked part-time for Refinement, doing more weddings. And then while I was in college, it was probably, gosh, I don't know which year it was, but I ended up meeting Haley there. And it was funny because like I met her, and I think it was our first date. And she's like, so what do you do for work? And we went back to her place after, no, this was the second date, or it was the second hangout, third hangout, I can't remember. But I opened my laptop, and I was always editing something. I was always doing things really for free. And I was like, here's some of the stuff I've worked on. I'm a filmmaker, you know, I do this. And she just thought it was cute and everything. And she tells me now that she like stalked everything, because I put a lot of stuff online. Like everything I made was on YouTube. I had a YouTube channel, right? And she knew more about me than I realized. But like she knew how much I was like into Devin Supertramp and his channel. And so she knew, she was always supportive of that and always was like helping me on my journey. We have funny pictures of her and I in college, super late. She's studying to be a nurse, and I'm just editing literally Devin Supertramp style videos and just putting them up for free for friends. And they're still online today. It's like they're like 12, 13 years old. But yeah, so just constantly making stuff, and then followed Devin on Instagram for a long time. And then one day he posted looking for editors, and I'll never forget it. I remember that long hall. It was at the top of the computer science building that overlooked like the stairs, glass. Walking down that, and I saw it, and I dropped everything. I'm like, pulled up. He's like, we need like a couple of things about yourself. You need to be local. It's like, this is it. After I've written it down, it's like, this is my chance. So I sat down on one of those desks, emailed him right away, and he, gosh, was this before or after? Because that's right, I ended up meeting him once. Okay, let me retract a little bit. So Haley's my girlfriend. We go to Buffalo Wild Wings. She knows I love Devin Supertramp. I'm sitting there eating at Buffalo Wild Wings in Lehigh, and all of a sudden Devin Supertramp walks in. And I was just like, babe, that's Devin. And she's like, no way, you should go talk to him. I was like, there's no way I can talk to him. And it's funny because now I know everyone he was with. Like Creighton was there, and Seth, and I see him having this big old party, and it was right after they had just released the Moab massive rope swing.
That's awesome.
And so they were there to celebrate that video. And I think he was walking around talking to people. He hadn't sat down yet, so I just was like, hey, you gotta go. So she like pushed me. And I was like, okay. So I stand up and I walk over to him. I was like, hey, I'm Tyson. Love your videos. He's like, oh, and he was so nice. He's like, who are you here with? And I'm like, I'm here with my girlfriend. And he's like, oh, let's go over. So he comes over and he meets Haley. Super cool. And just like, yeah, I love your stuff, and love to send you some of my stuff if you want to check it out. Just like looking for an in. And he's like, cool. So he gave me his email. So I went home and I emailed him some of my best content. Didn't hear anything from him, which I didn't. I mean, at that time, yes, I would have loved that, but it's like, it was a long shot.
Yeah.
So didn't hear from him. Anyway, now let's go back to the college things. Ended up getting that Instagram post opportunity and emailed him right away. And he wrote back And he goes, hey, I remember you from Buffalo Wings, because I made sure I was like, we've met before. I think I'd be a great candidate for this. And he's like, cool. We're trying a bunch of editors. I'll have Parker reach out to you. And I knew who Parker was, of course.
Yeah.
I'll have him reach out to you and get you some footage. Crickets. Nothing. And I'm just like, this sucks. What?
Well, what was going through your head? Were you thinking, did you have like thinking that maybe you weren't good enough at that point?
For sure. Like, I got to do this. Like, I don't know. I honestly can't remember what I thought, but it was just like, I mean, I'm checking every day. Did he email back? Did he email back? And it's 2 weeks go by. And guess what, dude? I hit him up on Facebook and I say, hey, Devin, you remember me? I applied for that position. Curious if you got the email. And he's like, yes, we replied to you. And we wanted you to meet up with Parker and get some footage. And I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, we gave you an email. So I jump into my email. I'm like, I don't have anything. And it's in my spam. And it sat there for 2 weeks.
No way.
This like all life altering email.
And the whole time you were just thinking.
And the whole time, I'm not going to get the opportunity. And I knew I was perfect for it. So I replied to Parker and he's like, oh yeah, we've got like 5 editors. Let me get you some footage. Meet up with Parker. That was really cool to meet him in the parking lot at my apartment, which is right by UVU. Gives me this footage, this hard drive. And I remember when he left, it was like, this is gold. Like, this is worth so much right now.
Yep.
And it ended up being one of the PCC, the Polynesian Cultural Center, behind the scenes. He's like, just edit this and send it back. I edited that thing 24 hours straight.
Wow.
I was like, I'm getting this to him tomorrow. I think he gave me a week, but I'm like, I'm doing this. So I sat down literally editing for 24 hours. And I told Haley, like, girlfriend at the time, I don't have time for you right now. I got to focus on this. This is my career. And she was in full support, that's what I like. Yeah. I knew pretty early Haley was the one, and that was only attesting to it. So, and I remember showing it to her. She loved it, shipped it off, and they're like, cool, it's great. They gave me some feedback. And to think about it from their perspective, I'm just like another person, but I'm like hanging on every word, right? Just like wanting to prove myself to be that guy. So I ended up submitting the video, and they're like, we love it. Just do this feedback, and we want you to do the main video. I was like, yes. So I ended up editing the main video, and I think I made it a little too happy, a little too poppy, and they ended up having me just change the song and a couple of things. And I was like a big fan of slow motion, and like loved that, and I still to this day love it, and speed ramping, and they were more like real time, not as much slow motion. So that was a big change. But anyway, what ended up happening was I was working with you guys at Big Door, and I was getting these little opportunities it ended up being a really slow process for me. So got the main video, I'd send it to, and then I ended up like not being in much communication with Parker, and I slowly started to realize I'm like helping Devin. So then the communication shifted to Devin, and it was like, and he was so busy that it was like, it was slow responses and it wasn't moving fast. And I still knew I was in this trial period, and there was other editors. I didn't know who they were at the time, but I think it ended up getting whittled down to me and one other person, which was Nick Sells. And I figured out who he was through this process. I think I ended up going on one shoot. They invited me to an ice skating shoot at the Provo Ice Rink, and Nick was there, and me and him were like the final two. And there wasn't any like competitive feelings. It was just like I was there to just help anyone and everyone I could. And for some reason, I kind of saw that he had an edge on me while we were there. Like, he was getting to run the main camera, and he kind of was like getting a little more opportunity, but I was just like happy to be there. Didn't read into it too much. Anyway, the conversations were kind of slow between me and Devin, and then I'll never forget it. I saw on Instagram one day that Nick got the opportunity to go film on a video with Parker and Carter in St. George, and I saw that, and I was like, I didn't get the job. Nick got the job, and I was like pissed. And I was sitting in a Lowe's parking lot in Lehigh, and I just was mad, and I was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong. Like, I am gonna prove that they messed up, chose the wrong person, love Nick to death. That was my feeling at the time, and I was like, I should be that guy. I'm gonna show him. So I'm like doubling down on YouTube. I'm gonna go hard. and ended up being that Nick was just Parker's guy and Carter's guy, and I was becoming Devin's, and he was just a little bit slower at communicating. There was nothing. I thought into it way too much, which is like a lot of things in my life. And so it's a really long story, but all of a sudden I realized me and Nick both got the job. So we both were behind the scenes editors. He was just a little bit he had a little edge on me. He was getting a little more opportunities, kind of one step ahead of me. And I was just like, so it was like a 6-month process. And during this time I'm working with you, getting little gigs here with Devin, and trying to prove myself in both areas. And then there becomes an opportunity to work full-time with you guys. And nothing really yet with Devin. It was kind of still in the air whether I was going to be the guy or not, or it was going to last. And I ended up going into that meeting with James at Big Door, and I think, was I asking for a full-time job? I think I might have been like, I'm willing to work full-time if you guys will take me.
I know that we were really nice to get you full-time.
And I remember, I think, I don't know if it was spawned by that to like go talk to James, like, let's get you a full-time gig. I think I went saying I'm willing, and then it turned on me and was like, well, we can't afford you full-time. So, and I just told him straight up, I said, well, if I'm not full-time, then I'm not going to do it. And I think he was okay with that. So I was just like, cool. So I knew that, okay, Devin's Supertramp's got to work out. This is my thing. So stopped with Big Door, and it was like right as you guys turned to Big Door, and like I helped you guys demolish the new building that was still there, and it's like a karate place. So I had like my blood, sweat, and tears, and then I had left. But ended up pursuing this whole Devin thing, man. And that guy has been so instrumental in everything up to this point. And even crazy enough, I ended up working for him and becoming like the guy that did all the videos that he couldn't do.
Yeah, it was at that point, it was Parker and Devin.
Yes.
And then Parker left to do full-time Filmmaker.
Yep.
And then you came in and you kind of replaced that.
Yeah, so the transition there was like me and Nick were still there. And I ended up, he was getting opportunities to do behind the scenes, and then I got my opportunity to do Mad Max behind the scenes. And they put Nick on photography or something. And so I was like, hey, here's my opportunity to shine. So that was a tough shoot, man. Oh, that BTS gives me anxiety to this day. I hate mosquitoes. And we got destroyed that first night. Like, I remember being in my tent miserable, just like itching, just like, what am I doing here? But knowing I had to push through this. And then, I mean, we're in the elements, man. In the middle of nowhere.
I saw all this stuff.
Go watch that behind the scenes. It's brutal. And you look at Devin when he's talking, he's got mosquito bites all over his neck. And I couldn't understand how people were out singing around the fire. But I remember, I got to get out and get some footage. Shirts are off, and Chris is just playing the guitar, and Creighton's hanging out. And I didn't really know anybody that well. And I remember just thinking, I got to get that footage. So I'd go out and I'd get footage of them. I wanted to show the whole experience, and just got eaten alive, got back into my tent. I was late at night, but from what I understand, crushed the BTS. And I filmed it, and then we went on a road trip to Vancouver. It was for Haliports with Creighton, Bubba, Strat, the whole crew, and Dakota was there too. And I remember Haley dropping me off at Creighton's house, and this was so surreal to me. It was like, I watched these people for years, and now I'm going to hang out with them. It was just always a big party. And so she dropped me off at their house, and anyway, I knew I had to get that behind the scenes edited. This was like a few days later. So I was editing the entire trip, but also shooting the trip, but behind the scenes. And I totally forgot about the Havasupai thing too.
That's right. You guys hiked into...
That was the first like main video opportunity I got. I hiked all the way into Havasupai with Devin's glide cam, the Red, and then they showed up a few days later. Oh yeah, that's right. I kind of got them the opportunity to go to Havasupai. I think we had extra spots. So that was kind of an in for me. So a lot of things I started to like try to do to get this job to work. But went to Vancouver, edited the behind the scenes. I think, was Seth on that trip? I can't remember, but Seth produced Mad Max, so I showed it to him, and he was like, this is amazing. But from there, man, started doing more behind the scenes, and then got my first opportunity to direct a main video. And it was the second day of the Super Bowl commercial because Devin had to leave. He did the first day, and then I had that second day. And I'll never forget, me and Carter roomed up a lot. And Carter was like, well, it's your big day, man. This is like your time to shine. Are you nervous? And I just remember being like, no, man, like I got this. I'm ready. Prepared my whole life for this moment. So seems so small now, but like that was huge for me. And yeah, we were in the stadium that's now knocked out. It was the San Diego Chargers at the time, the Qualtrics or Qualcomm, not Qualtrics. Anyway, it's a big stadium. Yeah. It's knocked down now. But yeah, filming in there, and it was we shot with some big names, and then that was the first time I worked with Marshall as a director, and crushed. I think I did a great job that day. I did a really good job. I really I think I fell into my element realizing that I can handle a crew, and it gave me so much confidence after that shoot. Tons of confidence, and kind of that was it, man. Propelled me into doing a ton of videos for Devin after that.
Bro, there's so much in here that's so good. Like, I just have so many questions stacked up that I think other people might want to know. And I know we spent a long time, but I don't care.
I'm fine.
Okay,
honestly.
Let's keep going. Okay, so, dude, I have some thoughts and questions.
All right, thanks for watching. That is the end of version 1, episode 5. Next week, we're going to be releasing version 2, episode 6.